everybody for being here, and it's been great to hear from everybody that's been involved in the digitisation of Mellon Schill lecture series. I'm very much looking forward to hear what Sir Michael Wood has to say too about their impact, so I'm going to try and keep this brief. As you will all know, we're here to celebrate its digitisation, and most people know, particularly those of us at the Manchester International Law Centre, that there would not be such a series without a woman called Olive. Now, who is Olive? The long answer is that Miss Olive B. Schill of Prestbury, Cheshire, left a bequest to the University of Manchester in the memory of her brother, Edward Mellon Schill, who died in 1916 during the First World War. The income generated from the bequest, initially used to publish a series of public lectures dealing with international law, which has now been revived under the direction of Professors Jean d'Obremont and Ian Scobby. So the short answer is that up until recently, aside from that, we didn't know an awful lot about who Olive was. All we knew was that she left some money, and then the lectures now honour her brother's memory. Or at least that's all we knew. Oh, and not her memory. So we didn't know much about her until very recently Dr. Ian Fishwick started pointing us in the right direction, and we've come up with a number of leads. We now know that Olive, greatly affected by the death of her brother, ended her role at Endell Street Military Hospital and dedicated her life to a whole host of social issues, mostly around Manchester. I think of particular note is her work with the Manchester branch of the National Council of Women, which was an organisation founded as a response to unsatisfactory working conditions for women at the time, particularly during the late 19th century. And by the time she joined the initiative, and she worked as honorary secretary for a number of years, the organisation had actually turned its attention more broadly to equal treatment of women in the workplace generally, and to the issue of the gender pay gaps. This would have been just in the aftermath of the First World War. Also worthy of mention is her work with the Gentlewomen's Employment Society, founded in Manchester, which, amongst other things, provided support and encouragement to allow women to embark on further education. It seems quite fitting then that a group of women researchers based at Manchester International Law Centre choose to dedicate the formation of a network that seeks to promote the role of women in international law to Olive. The Women in International Law Network, the Olive Schill Society, or WILNET as we're calling it, comes at a time when we really can't be complacent about the role women have in international law, working in international law. We think that's quite clear from a number of recent initiatives, such as the Global Campaign for Gender Parity before International Courts and Tribunals, and at a time when there's quite a lot of buzz out there about who's going to take over from Ban Ki-moon as next Secretary General for the United Nations, and given that that's a position that has only ever been held by men. So what about the network? The network is a growing community of women from all walks of international law life. So we're not just having an academic focus here, we've also got people involved from international organisations, from a diplomacy side of things, non-governmental organisations, people who are still in education, in private practice or in consultancy. And we already have quite a wide geographical spread of members, so that dictates to us that this initiative will primarily be web-based, because that is the best way to make sure that what we do reaches as many people as possible. We are going to invite women who work in international law from varied positions to be interviewed about their pathways actually into the field, and their experiences along the way. We'll be recording these videos to reach as many people as possible. And we want to try and make it as interactive as possible. So the idea is that we'll invite members to either tweet in or write in questions beforehand, so they can really get an idea about what it's like to be a woman working at an international organisation like the United Nations, or what it's like to try and move up the ranks in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, this sort of thing. That's really what we're trying to pitch. We're also in discussions to try and use conferencing software so we can actually make it even more interactive, because if we can get hold of conferencing tools, it may also be possible to have a panel of discussants, maybe arranged thematically, so we could have one particular initiative that's centred around finding work in the non-governmental organisation field, and then it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to geographical issues, because we can have the web conferencing software, live video, chat people in from all over the world. That web content will then be recorded and shared on our web page, which is currently under construction, and it'll likely go on in a blog format, so it'll be very easy to distribute on social networking links or email links, that sort of thing. The network is also really passionate about promoting the role that women have played in the development of international law, so we've actually begun researching about women who've made a contribution to international law but might have been overlooked by existing accounts on its developments. So that's actually led to some pretty fascinating discoveries. So our colleague Sara DeVito, who was a visiting researcher here last semester, found some amazing stuff about a lady called Jane Addams, who was a staunch pacifist and was first president of the International Congress for Women. And she actually was a strong advocate before its creation for a permanent international court of justice. So that's the kind of web content we want to create and populate. So we're actually always looking for people to write to us with ideas about that. So we're asking any female international lawyers or budding international lawyers to get involved. So you can either email us or tweet us. Or, to make it easier, today, my colleague Maria Smirnova, if you want to hold up your hand, is going to take people's emails so you can get involved really quickly just after the session today. And finally, I just want to thank a few people. So firstly, Jean and Ian have been incredibly supportive, letting us kind of run with this, really. And when I've said us and we a lot, so I want to say who us and we are. So that would be, yes, a group of researchers under the Manchester International Law Centre. That would be Cecilia Flores, Maria Smirnova, Ishil Aral, Cara Banjeri-Barker, and Mariella Pastelaki, and a couple of people who couldn't make it, Sara DeVito, who's in Venice, and our colleague Karina Calabria, who's still in Brazil. So thank you for listening.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.